Hey guys, what's up? I'm back here with part 5 of the series. In this video, we're going to be going over some stories on Reddit. Mostly stories about people experiencing sleep paralysis. So sit back and relax and enjoy. One night, after my grandmother passed away, I was trying to get some sleep, and I had a ghost moment for sure. My dog and I were in the room trying to fall asleep, and as we were winding down, I usually turn off my lights in our room, and then my dog climbs in my covers and sleeps next to me. So I turn off the lights, and I expected my dog to do his normal routine and get comfortable under the covers, but something else occurred. He grew anxious, pacing around my bed's edge, looking around the room. This didn't scare me, as he usually counteracts issues with getting comfortable. So I picked him up and put him under the covers, and then he decided to climb back out the covers and stare into the corner of the room. This freaked me out, so I called his name, and he didn't respond. Instead, he began to low growl. All I could see was the faint outline of the different objects in my room, so I got scared. He kept growling. I decided to speak out into the darkness, saying, "Whatever or whoever you are not welcome here, and I ask you to leave." My dog's head followed something that I couldn't see towards the door. And then, after staring at the door for about 10 seconds, he came back over to me. Let's just say, I didn't sleep well that night. I was laying on my side when it started. I felt my husband put his arms around me, but it wasn't him because he was at work. Initially, it wasn't too bad, so I was just going with the flow, until the damn thing started talking in my husband's voice. It started saying, "Look, I'm not really alive, I'm dead." I saw the arm that was under my neck turn black and mushy, then skeleton. I have truly never known fear until what I felt that night. My scariest experience with sleep paralysis was probably the first time I had it. It became the template for the next occasions, but I was a kid back then, so it was absolutely terrifying. I was having a rough night's sleep, and around 5 a.m. I woke up trying to move, and I couldn't. Panic took over me. I frantically looked around the room until I saw a weird shadow in the corner of my room. My vision was blurry just from waking up, so I tried to focus on it. The shadow suddenly turned into a huge clown, a mix of clowns you see in the media these days, and it jumped towards me and it landed on my chest, making me feel suffocated and unable to scream, despite the fact that I was trying as hard as I could to do so. Meanwhile, the clown got as close as it could to my face without touching it, with a huge grin and demented eyes, and it started manically laughing and screaming in my ears. I closed my eyes, but I could still hear it, and I felt like this thing went on forever, until eventually I was able to move and wake up. I opened my eyes, and it was gone. I woke up, lying in my bed, facing into the room. I then felt something behind me, so I tried looking over my shoulder, but I couldn't move anything but my eyes. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw that it was a creepy girl. Imagine the girl from The Ring or something like that, but also resembling my sister. Luckily, I had just read about sleep paralysis a couple weeks beforehand, so I realized that was going on. Still, it doesn't take away from the terrifying encounter though. I've had many scary encounters with sleep paralysis, but this was the worst one. I woke up in the middle of the night and saw this black demon-like thing with wings. It came up from under my bed and climbed up the corner of the wall across my ceiling until it was literally above me. Then it turned its head so it was facing down at me. It had massive white sharp teeth, but no other features. This is the worst thing I've ever hallucinated during sleep paralysis. I also want to add, this was during the week my dad passed away, and it was a rough night. I don't know if they get worse the more stressed you are. I had a serious food allergy, which had landed me in the emergency room. I was taken to a hospital in an ambulance, and the ETMs were pumping me full of Benadryl. The hallucinations began while I was in the back of the ambulance, as a huge dark gray frog with a yellow pine stripe going down its back. Suddenly, the frog morphed into a giant spider in the exact same place. It was so vivid that I could see the hairs on the spider's back. I even seen an egg sac on the spider's back, which hatched and 1,000 baby spiders were crawling all over the ambulance. The oddest part is, I wasn't scared. It was just a strange experience. The Benadryl did something to me. I woke up one night. Someone was talking near me, but the last words sounded demonic, as if it were said in my ear. Then it woke me up. I couldn't move, but on my left side was a black shadow woman just standing there. She stood there for a couple of minutes. After that, she smiled and waved before vanishing. I was falling asleep, and just as I found myself falling asleep, some doll-like creature was standing right in front of me, staring at me, as I couldn't move or scream even if I tried. I struggled for a couple of minutes, or it felt like hours, until I saw my mom walk in my room and ask me what was wrong. She then disappeared, and I finally opened my eyes. I was awake. I didn't go back to sleep after that. I was 9. I can't remember when this was, but for some reason one thing I loved doing was staying up all night at my grandma's house. For the record, my grandma's house is said to be notoriously haunted. When they first moved in, they found paintings of pentagrams that covered the entire walls in the basement. A very strange finding, considering an old drummer couple lived there before them. Anyways, back to the point. It was around 3 a.m., and I just finished staying up all night, playing Shattered Memories, so I went to the living room to go to sleep. The futon was set up so that you could see into the kitchen if you weren't facing the wall. For some odd reason, even though I only slept facing the wall, I decided not to. I stayed facing the kitchen, and noticed something that looked like a pair of eyes floating. To make matters worse, whatever it was started cackling. Not the cackling that a witch makes. No, it was even more terrifying. It was the most terrifying laugh I've ever heard, so obviously I was freaked out. I wanted to get up and go back into the room where my aunts were sleeping in, but for the life of me I couldn't. It felt like something was weighing me down. I stayed like that for about 10 minutes or so, and while in a paralyzed state, I could hear someone typing on the keyboard on the computer in the room, so I assumed it was one of my aunts awake. Let's just say, the clicking was still going on while I was walking to the room, but when I entered the room, both of my aunts were sleeping. I didn't know sleep paralysis was a thing until I was older, so I just assumed what I experienced was some sort of paranormal craziness. One night, I woke up to see a girl's face, just inches away from mine. She looked very pale with black hair, and was gazing into my soul. I get sleep paralysis experiences very often, but I'm probably never gonna get used to them. I've had sleep paralysis multiple times when I was younger. The last time I remember was when I was a young adult. One night, I looked up and looked over towards the bedroom door, and as it was opening, I was stunned to see a moon-like alien creature walking slowly into the room. I don't believe in aliens, and I was not abducted. It was pale gray, had large black eye sockets, no eyeballs, just large inky black carvings. It had a large head and a skinny body, very much like E.T., except he was tall. The scariest part was the ominous presence he carried into the room. That was like 20 years ago. I get sleep paralysis particularly around 2 to 4 times a year. I see the Grim Reaper, the blackness itself comes to stalk me. From the darkest corners of my room, it just stares into me without a face. I've seen it enough to realize that what's actually happening, and I just wait for the terrifying experience to end. Though, it still lingers to this day. Me and my sister shared a queen-size bed. I remember falling asleep one night, and woke up after feeling hands slide up and down my back. I thought it was my sister, as we shared a bed, and she had once done that before when we were kids. Then, that's when it hit me, and I realized she was away for college, and it was indeed not running her hands down my back. In that moment of realization, I just remember having a heavy feeling in my chest. I've had sleep paralysis regularly before that, but something about that moment still has me thinking about it to this day. I think the realization there and the sleep paralysis can either make things less scary or amplify things to 100. And I just remember feeling so hopeless and uncomfortable when it all clicked. And after that, I didn't have sleep paralysis for a while.